welcome to my channel.
Now because I'm a girl, you need to help me. When inside, you want to help me, but I have the care. I have the
Hi, welcome to my channel. This is live documentary. Thank you again for watching. If this is your first time watching me, this is live documentary, a channel where we talk about, all kinds of event, life experiences, sharing our experiences, and trying to see if we can do better and if we can make better decisions, having gotten certain knowledge. So again, welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're looking at seeing this video. In this particular video, we're going to talk about the difference or bringing up children in Nigeria. I mostly use Nigeria as an example because Nigeria is where I'm familiar with, and so in this video we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about bringing up children in Nigeria versus the abroad. Abroad could be anywhere other than Nigeria, maybe outside of Africa, maybe in the Western world, Europe, anywhere outside of Nigeria. So talking about the bringing up children and comparing it to bringing up children in Nigeria versus the abroad, we're going to first of all look at bringing up children in Nigeria. Again, I'm going to emphasize that I'm not sure what the system looks like now when you're bringing up children in Nigeria, but I'm going to mostly use what I remember growing up in Nigeria and how it was like for me growing up in Nigeria. Growing up in Nigeria as a child, I remember a lot of both good and bad experiences. For the most part, they are very, very different from what children go through when we have them in a foreign country outside of Nigeria. So looking first of all on how we the kind of resources and what we have in Nigeria when we are bringing up the children in Nigeria, is that we have a lot of support. Support is something that I never take for granted, because in Nigeria, where there's a lot of support, you have a lot of support of the family, aunties, uncles, other people outside of yourself and your husband that you can rely on. People that come in handy, people that you can trust, that you can leave maybe your children with, and things like that. So in Nigeria, there's a lot of support. In Nigeria, there's a lot of people that you can count on. In Nigeria, there's a lot of people that you can rely on, that are family, or there are friends that you can trust, that you can leave your children with. The support is very important. In Nigeria, also bringing up a child in Nigeria, you're able to make certain decisions for your child, and of course not misusing the opportunity that you have as a parent, but if you utilize the opportunity, you'll be able to solely teach that child what the cultures of what you really want this child to display as an adult. So you have that ultimate influence over what you actually want the child to be like when they grow up. And these are all the things that you enjoy in bringing up a child in Nigeria. You also enjoy the fact that you can let them know, or you can teach them the culture, not only teaching them, but they can also learn from good examples from family members and people around that is trusted. And now going back to bringing up a child in the abroad, when you look at that, you realize that in the abroad, you don't have so much family support. You don't have that strong friend or bonding or someone that you can say you want to leave your child for. Again, because it's a place that you migrated to, you haven't really found, you can't compare it to a place like Nigeria where you came from, where you have a lot of friends and families that you can rely on. So bringing up the child in abroad, it could have those challenges where you don't have enough support, where you are left with, let's say for childcare, you are left with just yourself and your spouse. And in some cases, if your spouse is not even there with you at the time, you are left just with the child. You are left to fend for the child by yourself, and you have no other choice but to, put the child in a daycare. Aside from the cost, you still, would not get that benefit of having to take care of your child like you would have, or having a family member take care of the child like you would have loved to. So you don't have that family support. And another thing it could do to the child is that the child may not be able to learn certain cultures. So before you know it, the child is, picking up the whatever is going on in the environment. The child is picking up habits and attitudes from whatever they see around, which may not be exactly what you have in mind for how you want to have your child grow up in. But again, this is all we are left with. So you are left with that challenges of you not having, having a way to teach that child your culture, and you are left with, whatever the child takes on according to their environment. Again, you may not have that so much influence on the child because, the way children are brought up in the abroad is completely different from the way we bring children up in Nigeria, for instance. In the abroad, children are given certain privileges where you can talk to them in a certain manner. You can talk to them in certain ways. There are certain ways that you would speak to a child and it looks like is an abuse. Yes, do not get me wrong. There are certain ways that we should not talk to children or anybody at all. Which is being verbally abusive. We can still, correct the child or correct the person even without being abusive. We can go straight to the point, make the child know where we're coming from, make the child understand what they've done wrong and what the correction is and why you're having to do the correction. But the way we do the correction is very important. We don't necessarily have to yell or shout or scream. So we do have to have that in mind. But, in a situation where you're trying to encourage the child to do the right thing, or where you're trying to teach the child, especially when the child is before the age of 18, because in the abroad, a lot of times, the consent age for a person is age of 18. Once they've reached the age of 18, they are no longer under your care. Or if, let's say, they've had a child before the age of 18, that whatever age that they've had a child becomes the age of consent for them. Because once they've had a child, even though they're not up to age of 18, they are already considered an adult. So in those situations, there are external interferences that could, prevent a parent from actually training their child or bringing up their child in the way that they want to bring up their child, because of all those external environmental influences that could influence the child from doing what they want to do, and from, making sure that they imbibe that Nigerian culture. So these are all the disadvantages and advantages. It just depends on the person. It depends on what you want to do as a parent. Bringing a child when the child is not born here and the child was brought from Nigeria, we also have to bear in mind that in Nigeria we do have a certain ways that we children are kind of accepted in a particular way. They don't have to do with the race, they don't have to do with the colorism, they don't have to do with the accents. But when that child is at a certain age, let's say the age of 6, and they come into a system like America or any other outside the country, any other place other than maybe a place in Africa, the child has to get some kind of protection, and the parent have to be proactive, because that child is going to go through that racism where they would, question her about how she speaks, they will question her about how she looks, and they will question her about everything about her or him. So again, we need to understand that these are the things that is likely to happen and prevent this from being causing a serious complication for the child. We also have to bear in mind that even as adults, we could also face the same thing, and we have to understand that we have to find ways to deal with it, because that cultural shock can be severe for an adult, how much less a child. So they are very real, and there are things that could cause adverse effects in a child, and that needs to be taken into account. So again, bringing children up in a Western world or in the abroad has its advantages and its disadvantages. For the disadvantages, we just want to know what they are and find a way to make it as natural, make the transition for the child as natural and as smooth as possible, by trying to incorporate the Nigerian culture in the that particular child. I have seen people that continue to say that they will never bring their children to America, for instance, that, because they've seen other Nigerian children turn out in a very negative way, and they do not want their own children to turn out that way. I've seen them saying, they only want their children to come after they finish their college education, their university education. But not necessarily. Every child is different. Every person is different. I still believe that it's still possible to bring up your child in a Western world, in a place like America, for instance. And I've seen even children who are well-mannered in America, and who have, taken to the culture, to the Nigerian culture, which their parents have done a wonderful job, and the child also have taken the education and the training. So it does not really affect sometimes, even though we can't ignore the fact that is a big factor in, the way the child is brought up. So Nigeria, having brought up a child in Nigeria and having brought up a child and they're abroad, is still, they both have positive side of it and negative side of it. Like I said, in anywhere we find ourselves, whether be it Nigeria or anywhere else, we still have to do the same thing. We just have to make sure that we're paying attention to the things that could go wrong and try to address them before they even start going wrong. That is the most important thing. But again, addressing those issues way before they start, anticipating those issues would help us know how to manage those particular issues so they can work in our favor. So they both have advantages and disadvantages. Depending on where we are, we just need to make sure we're paying attention and we're being intentional about how we bring up our children. Thank you again for listening to my video, and please comment and like and subscribe if this is the kind of video you would like to see and you would like to continue to be a part of. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.